Good morning and welcome to our channel. Today, I want to start by saying that the federal government has come to a decision on housing first programs and vouchers. To be clear, guys, we're not discussing housing choice vouchers or your local housing authority. We're talking about a housing first for continuum of care programs for those that seek rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing, and the emergency housing voucher exclusively. Now, tomorrow we'll talk about the budget cuts for those of you with a Section 8 voucher. So you want to follow along with us tomorrow around the same time, a little bit later in the morning. Okay. So 8 billion cut. This will be an end of a generation of nearly a decade worth of housing first programs. The 4 billion has been fought out throughout every district court in the U.S. at this point. And so the approach originally was to first get people housing that struggled or were on the verge, not able to pay rent and other things, or at the homeless shelter, under the bridge, living in the car, and so on. And then, deal with other after effect issues related to mental health, uh, drug related problems and issues. And so they have reversed course on that completely, and it's been granted at this point. So, what we will see at this point is anybody applying under the Continuum of Care program through any of its nonprofits in every single state in the US, they're going to require work requirements. Okay, we are not clear in the language on that yet. They're going to require employment first. So, work requirements first, employment. And they're also going to additionally require that any substance abuse that you have is being in treatment at that point, and the housing options at that point will be the homeless shelter or your mental health facility, inpatient therapy, or so on. They're not going to hand out free houses, apartments, or otherwise to people that are actively engaged in the use of drugs. If you have mental health issues that prevents you from rationalizing yourself in the normal community, then they're going to require at that point that you seek treatment for that first, and then seek out shelter through the homeless shelters. Now, many might argue, and I want to hear from you guys clearly what your opinions of are of this. I want to hear about, whether it's your political opinion, your religious opinion, or just on a factual basis. So do comment in the live, do comment in the regular chat that we have, and let's argue this point and see both sides of the aisle on it. One thing I want to make clear is the effective date for this will be relatively soon, within a couple of months. And so what will likely happen is it's going to put a large strain, because many of the agencies that handle and administrate federal programs for continuum of care, rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing, and emergency housing voucher, at least what's left of that program, what's going to happen is a lot of these nonprofits are going to be defunded. They're not going to be able to exist on the lack of funding. And so we'll probably see a nationwide collapse of many of these nonprofits. In my personal opinion, working at the federal level for 26 years as a consultant, I can tell you that a big majority of the money that was voted in by Congress and the House, given over to HUD, and then turned over to nonprofits was wasted at fabulous levels. In other words, mismanagement, inappropriate conduct, embezzlement, and other types of fraud. We put the wrong people in charge of this for nearly a decade. They lined their pockets. There are many of examples, including LA and other major cities, where we had nonprofits pretend to be lots of things, including religious. And in the end, all they did was pillage millions, if not billions of dollars in individual cities, and never sheltered anybody. And so this is quite appropriate, in my opinion. And keep in mind, looking at my career and what I deal with personally, owning Section8Consulting.com, it's my very job to defend many programs, but I'm not going to defend it against fraud. I'm going to go on to expose that. And so that's where we stand today. We should be getting some updates pretty soon as to the material changes. So let's be clear again. If you are prostituting, turning tricks, smoking crack pipes, and all that stuff, you're running through the neighborhood naked and all that stuff, and you haven't resolved your mental health issues, you will not be granted housing. Okay, they will give you 3 hots and a cot and a bed ticket to the local homeless shelter if they can take you on. And so that creates an additional stress, because many homeless shelters can't handle the load they have. And with a lack of funding, it means that there's not going to be many material places to go and get any type of housing or solution or voucher under the Continuum of Care programs without being first employed, having your mental health issues addressed, or at least being in treatment, and also meeting work requirements. That's what they're saying at this point. So it's not going to be housing first anymore. It's housing last, treatment first, housing last. And those solutions they're offering are also going to be a lot like what they've been discussing in the news. There not only will be work requirements, but time limits on the Continuum of Care program. And just to be clear again, guys, we're not talking about the housing choice voucher or your local housing authority and its vouchers. We're talking about the Continuum of Care program that specifically addresses homelessness. Okay. These are two different things. If y'all want to hear about the housing choice voucher and the cuts and limitations with that, you'd want to join us for tomorrow's video. That will be specifically addressing that and what Congress intends on doing with that and how that will play out also with work requirements, time limits as well. Okay. So moving on to comments here, because this is not going to be a long minute. We're at about 6 minutes. We're probably going to run it for about 8. I'm going to give out some information because I would expect there's going to be a tidal wave of problems throughout many communities because with a retraction of $4 billion, as a total summary number, we're going to expect that many of the nonprofits that were handling cases to stop doing so. Many people that had permanent housing and emergency housing vouchers or even rapid rehousing, those programs will probably cease to exist by the end of the year. And so you need to start looking at new housing solutions. So I'm going to recommend, obviously, being my video and what I've done for a living, working at the Federal level for 26 years as a Section 8 consultant. I'm going to give out my information. My name is Jay. I am the owner of section8consulting.com. Here's a QR code that'll bring you to our booking software. I am a last option as well. In other words, when all practical efforts on your part to be able to resolve your own case have failed, it may be wise to work with somebody that has nearly a quarter of a century experience in the field. That's why I brought up the QR code. My information and it's in my company is also in the description and will be in the comments section as soon as the video is no longer live. So I wanted to bring that up as an option. Anybody out there is welcome to go to any professional, okay, that obviously deals in the market. So I'm not suggesting anybody here needs to hire me to do anything. I'm only suggesting that as times are changing, and there is now a new requirements on the market, there's a high potential that many may lose housing, several million, and you need to start looking at your options now. If you guys ignore the warnings as they come in right now and choose to wait till the last moment when you're put on the side of on the sidewalk with all your stuff, then it's not an opportune time to contact my office because whatever's going to happen at that point will happen and it'll be far too late for me to help you, okay? Or any other office out there. It'll be 10 times the work and it's not going to produce the type of desired result you want, especially as we're coming into summer. So that being said, guys, I've enjoyed talking with you. Yes, this does strike some fear, but we need to understand what reality is. Not everything that's going to be delivered as a message through a video or any other consultant in the nation is going to be something that it's going to make you happy. Okay. So it's not about a material fear factor here. It's about you preparing to deal with the big changes coming. If you feel that's fear mongering, then you need to adjust course. Okay. We live in real world, in real times, and it's time to start adapting to those changes and deal with that adversity. Okay. So I've enjoyed talking with you guys. I'll see you tomorrow for our next video. And this will be the actual cuts to the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Those are the vouchers issued by your local PHA or public housing authority. And we're going to get deeply into the budget cuts there. Enjoy your day, enjoy your weekend, and we hope to see you again. Bye for now.